As of right now, of course, we have now entered the final 24-hour countdown for potentially finding the next owner of my classic collector's piece motorcycle, a 1953 MV AGUSTA, in particular for those here in the UK, and if you are curious about that or interested in it, of course there's a link right below in the description to check it out. Well folks, I mentioned of course having a potential new cash cow build coming out for the Honda RA272. It's a fantastic machine for grinding at Le Mans, and in terms of tuning it, it's pretty easy actually, because just like the Red Bull Junior, you don't really need to do that much to it. I've gone for racing intermediates. The first time I did it, I ran it with hards. It didn't really like that in the rain though, and as it turns out, the intermediates can easily last the entire race anyway. The suspension, of course, is already fully customised. I haven't done too many changes there. We've got 75 for ride height, 5 on anti-roll, 32 for compression on the dampers, with 40 for rebound, 2.5 on frequency, 1.5 and 2 on camber, 0.15 and 0.20 on tow. I haven't touched the diff at all. As far as the gearbox, of course, you do want to fit the fully customised race transmission. I would recommend an auto setting of 360 kilometers an hour. That allows you to easily get over 200 miles an hour with a power map on the fuel, and you can still get it up around 190 even with the fuel fully leaned out, so it's a nice mix there. As far as the ballast and restrictions, none of that applies. Downforce doesn't apply either. I would recommend the high RPM turbo. I do own both. I could imagine some people preferring the mid-range for the better, thumpy acceleration. But at Le Mans, it's more high-end most of the time, so choose whichever one you prefer. And as far as the rest, of course, it's already done. So it sits nicely at 656 points, which is ridiculously low given how quick it is, so I could certainly see them changing that. And for those who don't know what race I'm talking about, you will of course need to progress through the cafe missions to the point where you can unlock La Sarthe here in the European section, and then you want the World Touring Car 700 event right here, which you will win 825,000 credits for. Now, we're going to jump into the race, as always, of course, to show you what the car can actually do in practice. But to put it simply, as many of you already know, this thing is a beast. It blows pretty much any other mainstream car with a tune setup out of the water, with only a few exceptions like the Red Bull Junior being up there with this one. To me, this is a fantastic choice. Of course, the downside being that you need to pay $2.5 million to get it in the first place, but for those of you who do have it, it is fantastic to use. With intermediate tyres especially, it's so much better. You can easily run the entire event without filling up, without pitting in at all for tyres or fuel, as I said. You can actually run a level 1 map on fuel as well to get the best possible performance out of it, up around like 207, 208 miles an hour for at least half of the race. And it's so quick that even with rain, as I had during the event, and you'll see some of that, I was actually so far ahead, mostly due to not pitting in, but of course because it's quick in the rain as well, that I could just sit at the finish line for like 4 minutes at the end of the race and just win without even having to do an extra lap. So you can win in 6 laps, which not many cars can do. So if you are looking for a car that's more interesting to use, of course, very easy to win with, then absolutely go for it. It doesn't have the quickest of lap times, at least compared to some of my other builds. The Veyron, for example, I recall being quicker than this. But in terms of just overall longevity during the race, it's such a big advantage to be quick during the rain and, of course, not pitting in at all. Those 2 advantages alone are enough to potentially make it probably the best overall car for cash cow events here at Le Mans. So if you do decide to use it, I hope you have a ton of fun with it. And of course, like I said at the start of the video, this is the last call if you are interested in the UK in winning my classic bike. It's a real bike in the real world rather than a game vehicle, so of course check that out, and of course stick around on the channel for more builds, and be sure to check out the other cash cow tunes as well if you want to keep things fresh and use different cars each time. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.